Good morning folks, and welcome to my review of the Muscle Squad freestanding squat rack. Now let's get a look at this bad boy. Okay guys, so let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this bad boy. So like I say, it's a Muscle Squad freestanding squat rack. Now, I'll tell you before we start, this is actually being discontinued, so it's a bit of a wee diamond. And I'm really happy with the find, but let's get on with the review. So nuts and bolts, let's go through the dimensions. So the height is 2,175 mil, which is 85.6 inches for our American friends. The width is 122 mil, which is 48 inches for our American friends, and the depth is 669 mil, which is 26.5 inches. It's a half rack, which is what I wanted. I didn't want a full rack because of the space I'm operating in. I was always on the lookout for a half rack, and you might have noticed my previous rack that I had was again a very small half rack, but it was nowhere near the build quality of this. I think it was 2-inch posts and like 1.5 mil possibly regarding the width of the steel. So this rack is comprised of 75 mil posts, which is basically 3-inch posts, slightly larger. The gauge of steel is 12 gauge steel, which is 2.5 mil thick. It's really solid, really well built. The powder coating on it is excellent, by the way. I've knocked and banged this thing about quite a bit already, moving it around, and yeah, no marks at all so far on the powder coating, so I'm really happy with it. And I do like the finish. I like this sort of matte charcoaly finish. It works well for me. Let's see, what else are we going to talk about? Yes, the holes are 1-inch holes with 2-inch spacing, but because it's metric, it is slightly different. So it's a 25 mil hole and a 60 mil spacing, so it works out at like 2.2 inches or something, but it works. It's 1-inch holes, 2-inch spacing effectively. It's 4 posts, so you can work inside it, which is what I really like too. So there's an added bit of safety. We do have safety bars. What I actually got with the rack was J-hooks, set of J-hooks. And these are really, I'll come in so you can see them a bit better. These are really well manufactured. They're solid. They're lined with plastic, so you're not going to mark up your bars. And you do have a little safety lock at the back when you put the J-hook on. So when you drop the J-hook in, and if you need to adjust your bar, you do not want the J-hook. Say you want to slide your bar across, you don't want it moving really. So this little pin slots in the back and that stops that. So it's a wee safety feature which I really do like. Like I say, they're really well made, again, rock solid, good welds as well, and they have not skimped on this plastic coating here to save your bars. The other thing the rack did come with are safety arms, spotter arms, old school style. So effectively these slide through the 1-inch holes, and there is a little spring pin that clips in the back like so, and then that stops it from pulling forward. These are very substantial as well. There's a lot of weight in these. Chrome finish, possibly solid chrome, but definitely a chrome finish. Solid weight, I would say 5 kilos. You're not going to bend these in a hurry. There's no chance. The rack is rated to 350 kilos. These would certainly take an awful lot more than that. I've seen much cheaper much cheaper racks deal with much more weight than that. So I think they've been very conservative with their weight rating, but yeah, manufacturer's rating is 350 kilos, so we'll keep it at that. Anyway, let's just pop this away. So the rack also comes with a pull-up bar. You actually have 2 bars. I don't know if you'll see it from the video, but I will come up and do a wee bit of a close-up so you can see it. But effectively what we have is at the front, you have a narrower grip bar, okay? And at the back it's like a thick grip bar, so that'll really work your forearms quite a bit. I've got bands attached because I'm doing band assisted pull-ups at the minute for my back. Not there to be able to pull. Now, when I was a younger man, yeah, could have done pull-ups, but we're not there right now, so we're doing band assisted, and so I have bands attached to be able to do that. So, but the pull-up bars are excellent. There's good knurling on them, decent knurling for grip. They don't mess about, so very, very good. The build quality and the components, very, very happy with. Even the likes of nuts and bolts, listen, they're solid. They're not cheap stuff that ring out or anything like that. They're actually decent, and the actual building of the rack took me and my son probably about half an hour. There isn't a lot to it, really. It's just the awkwardness of this. If you were on your own, it would be fairly awkward because you're moving posts about. So yeah, it's really well made, really simple to build, rock solid rack. I am massively impressed with it. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts regarding price. So like I said earlier, this is a rack from Muscle Squad, who I had actually never heard of, not because I should have heard of them because I'm something special, but I hadn't heard of them because I wasn't really in that space and just was really online Googling for squat racks. And I was online Googling for absolutely ages, and I kept seeing your standard squat racks. I had a price range I needed to operate in. I was never going to be able to afford things like a Rogue or anything like that there. And a lot of stuff I was looking at was body solid stuff, and you know, it was okay, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I wanted something a bit more commercial based, a bit more heavy duty. And after a while, I stumbled across their website and was looking through their website. I think I might have stumbled across it looking for something that wasn't a rack. But after looking through their website, I seen this on their discontinued page. Now, they are still available today. I was on there just recently checking there, about 15-20 minutes ago, and they're definitely still available. The price is £400, and I think for £400, this is an absolute solid buy. I mean, even the little details like the Muscle Squad logo at the back, I mean, that's not crappy flimsy stuff. It's actually really well made. And I'm surprised. I thought this would just be almost like a really tiny, thin, wafery plastic board, but it's not. As you can see, it is metal. I have a wee clock that sticks to it, a wee magnetic timer. So it's metal. It is really rock solid made. I think it looks fantastic, and for £400, I think you're going to be really hard stuck to find a better build quality. Now, I know you can go on Amazon and you could probably buy, you know, racks that are cheaper. They're maybe 2mm thick. They don't have the 3-inch posts, etc., etc. I really wanted, for me it was important to get 3-inch posts. I looked at 2-inch post racks. I had like a wee small half rack 2-inch post, and the limiting factor is like when you're buying accessories for the rack, and I do intend to buy a couple of different accessories for this rack, and the rack will be more than able to hold up to anything I bolt onto this. I have absolutely no doubt. So you do get the spot arms, like I say, and you do get the J hooks. Now you'll notice the J hooks are on the outside because I would mostly work on the outside of the rack. So to do that, I had to buy some spotter arms. Now, loads of spotter arms will fit this rack, but like I say, I was on a budget. I didn't want to go and spend maybe £250 on spotter arms. So what I actually did was I went on Amazon and I bought a set of spotter arms that fit the rack perfect. I'll just chuck them on and you can get a quick look at it with the spotter arms on. Okay, so we're back. So this is the rack with the spot arms on it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these because I am going to do a review on these themselves. But this is effectively how I work out in my rack now. So I would use that for my pressing, if I'm bench pressing, whatever, or I'll just lift them up and use it for when I'm squatting. I would also use these if I'm doing maybe rows. I'll use them as a platform to work off for my rows. So they were not expensive. Like I say, I was able to get quickly I'll touch on it. I was able to get the spotter arms and these extra VJ cups here. They are a bit shorter and smaller, but they're perfectly usable. And again, they are actually really well made. They're just a bit smaller. You can see where they've saved the money on them. So I was able to get the spotter arms and these VJ cups for £70 for the four, for 2 of them and 2 of them. And I think it was a real bargain. And I know the spotter arms aren't the longest, but they're good enough for what I need, because I know if I'm squatting down, I'm going to drop the weight forward. That's how I've always done it. So realistically, I don't need to be setting out here to squat. I'm happy enough to be in here, and there's plenty of clearance from the J cups. So this is the Muscle Squad squat rack, half rack. Again, remember, it is discontinued. It says freestanding on the description, but you do get plates where you can bolt it onto the floor. I didn't need to. This thing is solid. Like I say, it weighs 107 kilos. So you would need to be chucking serious weight at the back of it to get this thing to tip. And I'm not anywhere near that. And if you're squatting off the front, it's even more solid again, because you've got 4 posts that you're trying to tip. So yeah, really impressed with it. I would definitely rate this as one of my best buys. I've had a lot of best buys, but I think initially this might have been £700 or in and around that. You'll see it in the website if you go onto the Muscle Squad website. But it would have been worth £700, but for £400, I think it's an absolute bargain. So if you're in the market for a good, rock solid half rack, do not look past this. This is an absolute wee gem hiding there. The fact that it's discontinued, they do say that they don't have accessories for it, i.e., extra J cups and safety arms and stuff. But that's fine. There's so many different manufacturers who actually make stuff that will fit this rack that that was the first thing I looked at. As soon as I got it, I thought, right, let's go quickly. Well, I didn't pull the trigger on buying it. I basically seen it and thought, right, I need to go and do a quick bit of research to make sure I'll be able to get the things I want to add on to this, and it wasn't an issue. So yeah, it's very versatile. You can certainly add a lot more equipment on it. It will stand up to adding, if you wanted to put pajama arms on this will hold that, no problem. If you wanted to put, considering possibly eventually maybe getting the trolley arms that basically turn your rack into a Smith machine. So I'm looking at that type of thing. This will absolutely handle that. These are fantastic. So yeah, if I had to rate it, I've used this, like I say, a squat out of it. I do everything out of it, a bench out of it. You'll have seen it in my videos if you've seen any of my other videos, but I just hadn't got around to doing a review on it yet. But yeah, Muscle Squad freestanding squat rack, I'm going to say a solid 7.5 out of 10. And if you're for a standalone, not looking any bells and whistles, no pulleys, we're not looking for any of that, but for a good solid standalone squat rack, this bad boy's got to be right up there. So do yourself a favour, if you're in the market for these, get online quickly, because I would say they're not going to hang around. Definitely worth the 400 quid. Anyway, this has been David from Fit50. I hope you'd enjoyed the review. Peace out.